So as an artist, I've been trying to figure out what is my brand, and I've also sat across from other artists and tried to help them discover what that is for them. And you sit across from an artist and you say, so tell me, who are you? What is your brand? And in my experience, I usually am met with one of three different reactions. The first is that the artist is really clear on what their brand is, or they're pretending that they're really clear on what it is. And that usually just gets discovered about 5 minutes in the conversation when we look at their content and how they're presenting it, and whether it's consistent with the narrative that they have about themselves. The second is that the artist gets really defensive. They're super excited to talk about their work, but when you mention the word brand, they say, well, why do I need a brand? I'm real, and I'm just going to put out real music, and that's all I need to do. The third is my personal favorite. It's the artist who can be completely animated when talking about their sound or their production. But again, you say the word brand, and their face goes blank, and they turn a little pale. And even though they've been talking to me for about an hour, all of a sudden, it's like I've started speaking Russian. I've completely changed languages. So I get it. It's an elusive thing that the person sitting across from you insists that you absolutely have to have in order to be successful. But no one can tell you how to get it. Because as it turns out, it's not something that you can get. It's something that you have to be. But in order to authentically be it, you just have to be yourself. Except that you know that yourself is this complicated thing. And you're not going to just squish your self-expression into some prefabricated box because people expect you to. So can you see how the conversation of brand can be frustrating for an artist? And yet it is a crucial thing to discover. And here's why. An artist's identity, or a brand, is a portal into a new world. It's a direct point of access by which we can experience alternate identities. We can explore connection, fantasy, escape. We can step into a persona that the context and the constraints of our own lives would not allow as appropriate. And in the music industry, the most successful artists have a clear sense of identity, and you don't have to think too hard to get it. Madonna's provocative, and you get to feel provocative when you listen to her. I mean, Beyonce, like, do I even have to say it? She's fierce, even when she's being vulnerable. So I get to experience being vulnerable from a powerful place. And when I don't want to go to work, I put on my sunglasses and my headphones, and I ride the train blasting, work, 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 work. And for 3 minutes, I get to be in a smoky club in Barbados. Another one of my favorites is Adele. Like, who better to profoundly understand just how badly that breakup hurts? You see, you want to discover your artist's identity because you want to give people the gift of who you are. The gift of experiencing life uniquely through your words, your sound, the self-expression that only you can create. And in order to do that, you have to ask yourself, who are you to people? What is it that you mean, and what is it that you provide in their lives? Creating an artist's identity is not just about putting out a product. It's about creating a relationship. It's saying to your audience, this is what I'm going to bring to the table, and this is what I'm going to bring into your life. Now, I was one of those artists that really disliked this conversation because I found it intimidating and I found it daunting. So I'm going to walk you guys through my misadventures in exploring different identities based on the opinions of other people and what they thought I should look like and what they thought I should sound like. But let me be clear, I'm not blaming them. I asked them to tell me who I was because I didn't know. And furthermore, I didn't want to make the wrong choice and then be responsible if it didn't work. So phase 1, Jackie O. So this is me just a couple of years after I moved to New York City. And I had met a brilliant producer who had had music placed on TV and film. He was playing the Kennedy Center. So when he wanted to work with me, I was so intimidated by his success that I really was willing to modify myself to fit whatever brilliant vision he had. I was also really nervous around him because I had a huge crush on him. So when we would hang out, I wouldn't really say much. I just kind of nodded and smiled and agreed with whatever he thought. And he thought I was a real lady, elegant, sophisticated. And he referenced Jackie O. So that's exactly the image that I started living into. I wore knee-length dresses. I lost 15 pounds. You could find me walking around Manhattan in this blue trench coat that he actually bought me. I cultivated everything about myself that was feminine and tried to minimize anything that I thought would be threatening. And I even started singing in this hushed, whispery tone, like this song that he produced. Beside you, beside myself, I try to pay no notice. Stay focused on what I cannot afford this, but this feels nice. So I still love that song, and I think it's beautiful, but it wasn't entirely me. And trying to be that, I felt repressed, and I started to feel angry, and I started to swing in the complete opposite direction, both personally and creatively. And I channeled that rage into mean songs. At that time, I lived on Avenue B in the Lower East Side. I was a Lower East Sider, and I smoked cigarettes. And I drank only whiskey, and I swore a lot, which my mom really disliked. And I found a new manager who had had his own successes in Broadway and in film. And what he saw was a tough, androgynous, and edgy chick, and he couldn't actually understand why I dressed like an old lady. So one day, I was backstage, and we were doing a show at Joe's Pub, and I had a makeup and a hair artist, and we actually cut off all my hair right before I went on stage. And then a few weeks later, before a photo shoot, we actually shaved part of my head. And that's the identity that I started to live into, this punk who wrote biting lyrics and was angry and pushed my voice until it had a harsh, gritty edge. And I sang songs about how terrible life was, like this.
I was made by a maker who was drunk when he said my name. Then he kissed me, but I punched him. You were played by a lie I didn't tell, but it was my mistake. Cause I tried to wish you well, singing good morning, I'm just starting. This time will not survive me. Sucker punch.
I wrote both of those songs, and both of those songs were intended for me as an artist, but they sound like two completely different people. I never released most of the music that I created at this time because I didn't know who I was, and I definitely did not know what I was doing. I fell into sort of a creative paralysis. So, you know that old adage about those who can no longer do or those who can't do? I started teaching. Oh, not there yet. So I started teaching. So one day, a student walked into a lesson, and she was really nervous and distracted, and she wouldn't make eye contact, and she was late, and she kept apologizing for everything. And about 10 minutes into the lesson, I stopped her because I said, listen, I can't teach you on top of the anxiety that you're experiencing because singing is a very physical act, and right now your breath and your body are completely disconnected. So what's going on? And she shared with me that she had just learned that her family at home had lost everything. And she had to figure out how she was going to survive, how she was going to stay in school. In this moment, I realized that the only chance that I stood to make a difference for her was to be vulnerable. I didn't care about looking good, and I didn't care about all the things that I had done right or I had done wrong. So I shared with her that when I was 22, I moved to New York City. And my family lost everything in the financial crash. And even though they supported me every time that they could, it was really tough working full-time and then doing music on all my off time or spare hours, whatever I could create. I shared with her how I got fired from my first job for holding a rehearsal in my office. how I waited tables, I worked at venues and offices, I sold cell phones, and one time I dressed up as a sriracha bottle and I handed out potato chips downtown as part of a branding experience. No mystery there why I had a strange relationship with branding. And then I shared with her that it was actually that experience that gave me access to discovering my financial freedom and gave me access to being powerful as an artist who supports herself. Fairly recently, I had another student walk in after being diagnosed with an autoimmune system condition. Her skin was showing angry red patches, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. The only reason that she shared this with me was because I could hear the inflammation in her vocal cords, and I asked her what was wrong. And she brushed it off, laughing, saying, oh, I just have to take a bunch of these tests, and it's just something that I have to deal with. But I could tell that she was scared, and I could tell that she was going through a lot, because I recognized my own bravado in her casualness. What I said to her was, this diagnosis doesn't mean anything about you or what you're going to be able to accomplish. I shared with her that when I was 23, my intestines ripped open due to a severe undiagnosed case of Crohn's disease. I spent 6 months in and out of the hospital receiving IV medication that was so strong it sent my kidneys into failure. And when my body had an allergic reaction to the medication, it nearly killed me when I almost had a heart attack. I'm here. I'm still here, and I'm still an artist. And in that moment, I saw it. My resilience is a part of my identity. It was those dark moments that I thought had weakened me or slowed me down that were now showing up to provide hope and light to the people, to the students, to the artists that I really cared about. You see, teaching began a shift in me that has me standing here today. When I started teaching, I stopped thinking about myself so much. I got out of my own world and into the world of other people. And what I saw was that the constant concern and the worry that I had about what other people thought about me or what I was going to have to do to succeed started to slip away. The happiness of my students became my happiness. I also started to discover my identity as a product of my relationships. I realized, as a matter of fact, I'm not a teacher without students. So why is it any different as an artist? I'm not an artist if I don't have an audience. So then I got curious about the question, who am I as a teacher for my students? And who am I as an artist for my audience? Bob Dylan said that the highest purpose of art is to inspire. So I asked myself, what is it about me that I have that can inspire other people? And the answer that I got was that I care more about being connected to people than I do about looking good or getting it right. So I can share the silly, stupid, irresponsible stuff that I've done, the really tough things that I've gone through, so that when I'm sitting across a student or an artist, they can know that whatever they're going through, they're not alone. And that's what I'm willing to put at stake in my work. And something magical happens when you start to be there for others. It starts to bring out the best in you. So as I started to consider the question of my artistic identity, my brand, again, I looked for archetypes, for female archetypes that showed resilience, that had maybe started out in a privileged position and had a fall from grace or been through something difficult and come out on the other end still believing and fighting for the goodness in people. And I discovered some characters that I really love. The Princess and the Pea, Lady Godiva, and of course, most recently, the mother of dragons herself, Khaleesi. Hopelessly idealistic, powerful, imperfect, vulnerable, and willing to put themselves at stake for what they believed. I discovered so much freedom in creating my artistic identity, not around who I thought I was or who I thought other people wanted me to be, but around the experience that I wanted to create for people. I got to empower myself, and thus I got to empower my audience with this brand. I created a superhero identity that can get through the challenges and the struggles that I can't on my own. And this is how I created my current artistic identity of a dark and fierce princess. Yeah. So we're actually going to sing a couple of songs. The first one is my single, which is going to be released later this month. And the second one is a song that I wrote just a couple of weeks ago.
I wanna hold you in the dark till you give me sight. A golden star shone in the dead of night. I wanna kill the glass, I wanna erase the day. Remember when, let me stumble, let me fall straight into you. And in the morning be hungover. I wanna kill the glass, I wanna erase the day. Remember when, yes I am a little drunk and it's not the first time. I took this bottle for all it's worth. So give me hard liquor, soft press. I find a way to you. But I need hard liquor, or I'll never make it. I'll never make it. You're an original, baby, believe I've done it all. 6 fights and 6 nights, I still tried to call. 'Cause I'm the original on everybody's wall. And yes, I am a little drunk and it's not the first. Pay no mind to what you heard. I took this bottle for all it's worth. So give me hard liquor and soft press. I find a way to you. And I need hard liquor, or I'll never make it. I'll never make it. Till my cup runneth over. Keep me spinning all around. 'Cause this time in the morning I won't wake up feeling down, with my face on the ground. Everybody's got a limit, so give me the strongest of what you got, and one more shot. I'll be ready, I'll be willing, 'cause I ain't had enough. No, I ain't had enough. Give me hard liquor and soft press. Find a way, I'm trying to find a way to you. But I need hard liquor, or I'll never make it. I'll never make it. Every bad boy wants a good girl to wake up to, and every good girl wants a bad boy like you. So I've been running from him since I remember, but now I found I'm caught up in you. And I know you don't think that you deserve it. No, you don't know how to play it safe. They all talk about your reputation, but baby, I can make my own mistakes. So make a little mischief, bring a little mayhem. Baby, I'll keep up with you. Ooh, something in me melted your cold, cold heart. Baby, can you tell me what it is? So I'll come down from this cloud and the pedestal you built. 'Cause I'm a good girl, but I got a little bad in me. Yeah, got a little bad in me, got a little bad in me, got a little bad in me, got a little bad in me. Rebel, I'll let you steal my kisses. Romeo, we can run the streets. Show me all the things that I've been missing, that the fairy tale left incomplete. Let's make a little mischief, bring a little mayhem. Baby, I'll keep up with you. Something in me melted your cold, cold heart. Baby, can you tell me what it is? So I come down from this cloud and the pedestal you built. 'Cause I'm a good girl, but I want a little bad in me. 'Cause I got a little bad in me, got a little bad in me, got a little bad in me, got a little bad in me. Sing it if you know it. Got a little bad in me, got a little bad in me, got a little bad in me.
So, do you need a brand? I think without a doubt, it's clear that an artist's identity can help people connect to being with you and to experiencing what your life is like. So maybe what I'm proposing is a change. Is a change in the conversation of how we relate to a brand. That it's not a fake identity that you create just to sell products. That a brand, like an identity, is a relationship that you develop with an audience. And you get to choose who you are in that relationship. So I'd like to close with an exercise that I love to do with my students in order to have them explore their own identity. And I encourage you guys to take this on with me. So we start out with a series of questions. The first question that I ask them is, who do you think that you are? And the second question is, what are the relationships in your life that make you what you think you are? Are you a sister? Are you a mom? Are you a dog owner? The third question is, what are you striving for or resisting against that makes you feel like you have to live into any particular identity? Are you still trying to piss your parents off? Are you trying to impress someone or prove that you're good enough? And to whom? Then the questions get a little bit more interesting. I ask my students, if I was not standing here in front of you as your teacher, would you be a student? Or, let's say magically all the men on this planet disappeared. I'm not saying I hope that happens. I'm just saying, let's say that happened. Would woman still exist as an identity? Would you be a woman? And then the final question is, what if I took you and I put you in a dark room and I closed the door? And there you are, you're standing in the dark room and you know that no one is ever going to walk in or out of that room again. Now what are you? Pretty consistently, what my students get is that they are not anything or anyone. They're not sitting around alone in their rooms being an identity for themselves. You're just a moment in time. You're just this breath, and then the next breath, and the next breath. And if you aren't really anyone, then you're free to create an identity that empowers you to make the difference that you want to make in the world. Looking back at all the identities that I inhabited, I have no regrets, nor do I think that they were fake or false. They all represented different parts of myself and different relationships that I was in at those times. And I think I've actually found a way to combine those elements into the dark and fierce princess. I want people to feel sophisticated, special, and luxurious, but also powerful, vulnerable, and a little bad when they listen to my music. So I'm going to quote Dylan again, because I understand that even this identity is an ongoing conversation. And he said it best when he said, all I can do is really be me, whoever that is. So, since you guys are my audience, I'm going to ask you, what do you see when you look at me? Do you see an elegant lady? Or do you see a cynical, pop, punk, tough chick? Or maybe do you see a dark and fierce princess? And what are the limitations of this identity? What is it about me that dictates how it's appropriate for me to act? Is it my gender? My skin color, perhaps? Or maybe it's my age? Do you see a box that I have to fit into?
Here am I thinking clear. I've been trying to conquer this fear. When my head don't make sense, so I leave it between my ears. The more I think that I've landed, the more I don't understand that I can't swim in the ocean by holding on to the sand. I've been trying to be happy, being everything I can, but it's all the things I can't define that let me be the stranger, stranger, stranger that I am. Stranger, stranger, the stranger that I am. Stranger, stranger lights. I've been burning time by the rules that I never would write, so I leave them here. You can find me between the lines. The more you think that you know me, the more you won't understand. Oh, you can't swim in the ocean by holding on to the sand. I've been trying to be happy, being everything I can, but it's all the things I can't define that let me be the stranger, stranger, stranger that